under the same roof, we share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And why do we stand in love's pure might? Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Okay, thank you for tuning into the channel. We're definitely watching the world. We're excited to have a great show in store tonight. We have so much to talk about, especially, did you hear the news about what happened in the NBA with Chauncey Billups? I even took you guys on a tour to the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse the other day and showed you where so many of Chauncey Billups' co-conspirators are going in and out the door. In fact, I showed you where on November the 24th, Chauncey Billups has his second court date. Now, how can we navigate what's going to happen with the court case? How do we find these things out? Well, we have on deck one of the best attorneys in the nation. He's a criminal defense attorney that's weighing in with 25 years of experience working on local and federal crimes. We're going to bring on Calvin Johnson to help us find out what's going to happen with these major cases from a legal standpoint on our weekly legal review. Calvin Johnson, welcome in.
Welcome in, Mel. You know, I was talking to you earlier about this, and, you know, it's very disappointing that Mr. Billups has gotten himself caught up in this. As well, you know, I used to represent Chris Bosh. I was Chris Bosh's personal attorney. I went to the NBA draft, and I have some history in terms of having a friend of mine who actually played for Arizona State back in the day, ended up getting caught up in a point-shaving scandal, who he's rehabbed his life and improved his life. But when it comes to sports betting, these things can be very, very unfortunate because of the money, the allure, and then the addiction. So no matter how much money you have and how good of a position that you're in, you can be sucked into sports gambling. And this is very disappointing, especially Chauncey Billups. I actually have met Chauncey Billups before back in the day. Actually met him in Vegas at the All-Star weekend when I was working for Chris Bosh. Chauncey is one of those guys we really look up to. Point guard, really good guy. And you know, some of these guys I could see getting in this kind of trouble, but when Chauncey Billups' name came up, it really surprised me.
You know, word on the street is that he was making close to $2 million a year. And if that's true, why in the world would you reach out for the extra fruit?
See, that's what I don't understand. And I think that sometimes these guys play poker and they start hanging out with guys, and you know, you got a lot of money, you get bored. But in Chauncey's situation, not only was he making $2 million a year, Chauncey also had a lot of career earnings. So he wasn't like a peon player. I mean, he's won a championship before with the Detroit Pistons. I think he's a Hall of Famer as well. So it's very, very unfortunate that he got caught up in this.
Now, if he was your client, what would be the first thing you would tell him to do at this point?
Just sit down with me and tell me everything, which means let me know what we're looking at. Also, with the authorities, don't play around with the authorities. You're going to have to talk to them. I'm just being honest. And today, with all of the technology, with social media, with all of these cell phone data, locations, and all of that stuff that they have now, it's very easy to catch you doing something that you're not supposed to do. And then in addition to that, I'm more surprised because when I worked with Bosh, I got to see some of the insides of NBA security and some of the safeguards and some of the extra precautions that they take. when dealing with players, and you would have to know that people are going to be paying attention to you. And that when it comes to these unders and these player bets, you had to know that somebody was going to start paying attention to you as players and as coaches. And so I'm just really surprised by that, because somebody like Chauncey is going to know the insides of that because he played so long.
Is this just a fly-by-night type of deal, or can we say this is the NBA as a whole rigging games?
I'm hoping it's a fly-by-night type of deal, but I just don't know, because when you look at somebody like Chauncey, who made a lot of money, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you think sports betting would get in the way. And in addition to that, as a player, you make more money by performing well. So you're going for your next contract. I don't think it is as bad as they're trying to make it out, but I think it's going to be more than we think it is.
Do you think it's a case where the mob, let's say, because everybody's throwing around the mob word, we can unpack that more later, but do you think they were really squeezing him, or do you think it's a case where maybe he just wanted more?
I think what happens is you go and you start hanging around those guys, and all of those guys are always looking for an angle, right? And so you got to be extremely careful when you're dealing with them, because they're always looking for an angle. And if you start gambling as a coach or as a player and you get a little in too deep, man, you want to get out of that hole. And so it can be very easy to start getting caught up into stuff when it comes to sports gambling, because at the end of the day, we all know the house always wins. Always wins. So why I could never see myself gambling like that. There's no way.
I noticed the other day when he went to court, they said, oh, he did the perp walk, right? What are your thoughts on the perp walk? Is that a real deal?
Well, I got some ideas about that. I think, number one, I'm concerned about the number of NBA players that could be possibly involved in this. And then also, I've had some people say this, and we can get into it tonight. Some people say it might even be part of Trump's culture wars, because we know the NBA is really forward thinking, and they're not really MAGA world kind of league. And so and he's had some situations where he doesn't like some of what the NBA is doing. But with that being said, if you're gambling and you shouldn't be gambling, you brought that on yourself, as Martin Lawrence would say. So that's just what it is. And I don't understand these guys, because I've been around them. I see the kind of money they make. I see the kind of the organizations that they have. I mean, I'll give you an example, man. I mean, when you're in an organization like, let's say, Toronto, after the games, man, they don't have to pay for their meals. We go to a lounge. You pick your steak out, you pick your potato out, and the chef cooks it. And then you get whatever you want to drink. I mean, you live in a world where you have everything catered to you. I don't understand how getting involved in this made any sense for anybody. I don't get it.
Were you shocked as an attorney to hear Kash Patel be the one to announce what happened?
I was, but then too, I wasn't, because with everything happening with the current president and Kash Patel and him pushing Mr. Patel to come back with all of this stuff, it didn't really surprise me, to be honest with you. I thought it would happen.
Do you think that there's some political element to this, or do you think this is just a pure case of right or wrong?
I think it's slightly a political element, but once again, if you're an NBA player and you don't get involved in any of the sports betting, you won't have the issue. So I don't understand how these players allowed themselves to get in the jam that they got themselves in. It just didn't make sense.
I saw Mike Tyson box Jake Paul, and I've always been, since 1985, I've been a Mike Tyson fan, and I felt like he was holding punches. Do you think the fellow that was arrested along with Chauncey Billups, do you think he was really throwing the game by saying his knee or ankle was hurting?
Terry Rozier, I think he was. I mean, they showed some of the highlights of him claiming to be hurt, grabbing his ankle, taking himself out of the game. I don't understand how these guys pull that. And as I was looking, I said, oh yeah, I think he is I think he definitely is. I'm trying to get this seating right. I think he's definitely involved a little bit more than he should be, because when I was looking at one of the times that he took himself out the game, I was like, oh man, come on, man, you're not hurt. I mean, you're not going to hurt your ankle after you make a shot. I mean, if you jump and you land wrong is one thing, but the way he was claiming to be hurt, man, it made no sense whatsoever.
A rumor has it that he had stated earlier in the night that he took himself out of the game. Oh, I'm going out because of my ankle.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where he got himself in trouble at. You know, Jontay Porter earlier, if you don't know who he is, he's Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. He got caught up in a situation like that as well, pulling himself out of the game because he was getting close to an under. And what happened was they had him under 1.5 rebounds, and he was avoiding the ball. And then one time the ball just came to him, and you could see the look on his face like, like I didn't want to get that rebound. And so they played that tape, and everybody was like, oh yeah, he's shaving this thing off to make sure that his bet hits.
Now, I also heard a rumor online, we don't know how true it is yet, that he received $200,000 that night for throwing at the game, or at some point went home and cashed in the funds. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like big trouble if true?
It is trouble. If they convict him of this, or if he did bet on games, he's going to be banned for life. I think now they can even go after your pension. So not only could he be banned for life, his contract could be voided, which he makes a great amount of money, and he'll never be able to play in the NBA again. They will ban you.
Okay. So what do we expect as far as getting back to Billups? Is he looking at some serious time?
I don't think he's looking at time. They were more or less saying that he was kind of on the fringes of inviting people over to play in the poker games. And then at the poker games, they were using a weighted shuffling system, and that they could see through the cards and that kind of thing. So I think he got pushed to bring people in to the poker games so that they could get hustled. Game, as far as throwing games, I don't know how involved he was in throwing games and that kind of stuff.
Okay, Infinity Mark in the audience says that Terry will probably go to China.
Terry Rozier might go to China, but I'm gonna tell you right now, he gonna probably go to jail before he go to China. I mean, they gonna make, like, when you do something like this, even if you're a first timer, man, they try to make you do some kind of time. A friend of mine actually got jammed up. If you go to Netflix, there's a movie called Bad Sport, and I actually know the guy on the cover of that one. He had to do 6 months.
6 months. So the big question I have for you, we covered Sean Diddy Combs' trial for the last 2 or 3 months or so, right? Yeah. We heard the word RICO in that case. How come we don't hear the word RICO now that they have 30 plus individuals?
I think you should at RICO because you got the mob involved, but I think because it's NBA players, and I really think a lot, maybe these guys kind of got in the jam, got in the hole a little bit, and I think the mob kind of squeezed them at that point. So I don't think that they may have been as closely related as things were in the Diddy case. And so, but when you think about RICO and you think about the mob, you would definitely think that the mob knew that these guys were compromised. And you had to know as a mob that if these guys are compromised, I need to get as many separate people as possible to actually benefit from knowing this additional information. So it probably should be a RICO, but I just think that they're going to go after the NBA players, man. I think this is a bad look for the league. And I have my other thoughts on that too as well. I will tell you, I've met David Stern, the former commissioner of the league when I work with Bosch, and now we have a new commissioner named Adam Silver. I think he's a good commissioner, but David Stern, I think, was just, he was probably one of the best commissioners in sports history because of the way that he grew the NBA into a global game. I mean, the NBA is more global than baseball almost. It's more global than football. And I think that David Stern just had a way about him to where he controlled and kept things under wraps and did not let certain things happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He had those
Brian,
relationships, and then he was very resourceful, put it like that.
right, right. Brian Vetter says criminal inside gambling, like insider trading, is unfair and against the spirit of the bet.
It is, man. And that's the thing that agitates me. Like, if I'm out here betting on these games and these guys are literally throwing the game, man, and costing me money, man, that's pretty sorry. You know, it's pretty sorry. That should not happen.
Now, I saw some documentaries, don't know how true it is, that Michael Jordan had a major gambling issue, right? I also saw one of the ex-mafia guys say that sometimes these guys will borrow money because they're in there gambling or what have you. They get in over their head, and that's when the mob come in and say, hey, listen, you owe us this $300,000. You do this, this, and this, and we can perhaps make it go away.
That's exactly what happened to my friend. And, you know, that's what happened. He got in too deep. There's no way he was going to be able to pay it back. And it's easier to throw a game than to actually come up with cash. And you're thinking like, hey, if I throw this one inconsequential game, who am I really hurting that much? And you start to rationalize what you're doing. And then the next thing you know, you're in too deep. And then here we go.
Yeah. I had a client come to me. He was trying to secure some sort of loan, and he had this whole thing in his mind about, well, if I take this hard money loan and if I could just do this one flip, I can get out of this and I'll be okay and save my houses. And I was trying to tell him, you won't be able to do it. So do you think that's the case? The guys rationalize, hey, I'll just do this one spin and I'll be out of here.
And that's what they're thinking. They're thinking, I can do this one time and I'll be out of here. Then you do it. Then you get out the hole and you're like, well, I lost that money, so maybe I can pull it again. And then the next thing you know, you gamble a little bit more and you're back in the same hole that you were in. And, you know, that's what happens, Mel. You got to be extremely careful, man. You can't, the house always wins, man. The house always wins. And I'll tell you, I'm not the gambling type. I'm just not. Some guys love to gamble. I may do a little something every now and then. Out of a football year, I may do 3 parlays for a whole season just to try my luck. I played dominoes for money before, but I'm good. So that was kind of weighted my direction. But outside of that, man, I don't do anything. I just don't believe in gambling. I think it's a waste. I think the house is always going to win. Unless I have an advantage, I don't want to do it.
Right. Bluegill Buster says, look at what happened to Pete Rose. He was treated terribly by the commissioner. He had a personal vendetta against Pete.
And that's the thing that you got to understand. Like my friend that I discussed, and I don't want to say too much about his name right now because I love the guy. I mean, he's a close friend of mine. Man, he went from being a first round pick, man, and not getting picked at all. I mean, he lost a lot, man. He lost a lot. And it really, in a sense, kind of set him back. He was able to kind of get up on his feet and go overseas and do extremely well and play there. But at the same time, man, it just wasn't worth it.
So I just want to throw something at you real quick to see if you don't want to answer this, okay. When Diddy had his trouble, some people said he should have skipped town like Russell Simmons. Some people online are saying that Terry should try to take that route. What would you say to people that think that way?
No, man. Even if Terry goes to jail, he's not going to go that long. He still has a lot of money, I would imagine, because Terry's made a lot of money. I mean, Terry got some nice contracts in the past. So Terry doesn't need to skip town. Terry just needs to cooperate and do what he's supposed to do, and hopefully he can hold on to some of that NBA money he has. Skipping town, don't do that. You make yourself a fugitive. I think he put his house up to be able to get out, if I'm correct. Like a $10 million bond package, if I'm correct. But don't skip town, man. Face it. Man, honestly, a situation like Terry Rozier, he wouldn't do more than 1 or 2 years, to be honest with you.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
He has no criminal history, hasn't been arrested before, upstanding citizen. He would probably only be looking at a couple of years, man.
Okay. Geraldine Gidney said robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, when you didn't even have to rob Peter. Because NBA guys, man, they make some serious money, man. And then I'm being honest with you, as you travel with them, they get a per diem every day. You don't I'm not trying to be funny, but like you could go to a city and you get a per diem, you get per diem money, man. You could use your per diem money to shop some. That's how much your per diem is. And per diem is money to eat and incidentals while you're there in the city or whatever. So it's just like between your contract, the money they give you, and the actual perks of being at an organization. Like I said, when my player Chris Bosh was working for Toronto, man, I mean, they treated you like a king, man. After games, we go to their lounge, and man, they treated you like a king up there. So it's like I don't understand how these guys do what they do. They shouldn't have to rob anybody, because during the year, you think about it, most of the time they're on the road.
Right. So let's stay on the sports track, but we're going to switch up a little bit. Let's go to Stephen A. Smith. He's been in the media for two major headlines. Let's first talk about Jasmine Crockett. He started off saying she wasn't speaking as she should have, right?
And this is what I'll tell you about that. I think Stephen is leaning into politics, and I don't think that that's something that he should. I'm not saying he should do, but I don't think he understands the lay of the land. Jasmine's job is actually to stand up to the president and actually stand up to the Republicans. And he was saying stuff about her not working with them or trying to work with them. And I don't think that he gets it. And I'll say this, I think that they have a particular agenda, whether you believe in it or not, and they're going to execute it. And well, they won the election, so they have the opportunity to do that. But they're not interested in working with people. They want to execute what they want to execute, and that's that. So it's not going to be a lot of working with people. And I think her constituents want her to stand up to Mr. Trump, and Mr. Trump constituents want him to go at her and put her down as much as possible, unfortunately, on both ways. But that's just what it is. And I don't think Mr. Smith understands politics. And then I think the optics of him being a black man speaking to a sister like that is just not a good look. I think it's a horrible look, because even if you have valid concerns or complaints that you feel like you need to be addressed, I think that you pull her to the side privately, have a conversation with her first before you come out publicly, because I don't think Stephen A. understands enough about Washington politics to make the statements he was making.
Dwayne Parrott says Stephen A. needs to stay in his lane.
He does. When it comes to politics, it's a different ballgame. And, I make no illusions about it. I know Jasmine Crockett personally. I'm just letting y'all know, because I do not want anybody to, no, listen. I know her personally. I actually, when she ran for political office the first time here in Texas, I actually helped her get elected into a state rep position. But with that being said, I'm just being honest. You have to know the lay of the land when it comes to politics, and you got to kind of stay in your lane. And Stephen A., he was driving backwards and swerving because he was not in his lane when it came to politics properly.
Stephen A. Smith seems to be saying that she's not speaking on a high level.
I think when it comes to that, when you talk about stuff like that, I think that politics nowadays, who is speaking on a high level? I mean, these folks are really going after each other. When I say these folks are going after each other, I'm a citizen just like you are and anybody else watching this show. And I'm disappointed in all of Washington, Republicans and Democrats, because right now the country is shut down. We don't have essential things to pay the troops, to pay government workers, to pay people who have benefits that really need them to survive. And I'm upset with the whole thing. But with that being said, right now, talking on high levels, who's to say that Trump is talking on a high level, or Jasmine Crockett's talking on a high level, or Adam Schiff or Stephen, whatever his name is talking on high levels? Right now, people are just going at each other's throats. And Politics is not high level speak town right now anyway.
Well, Stephen A. Smith came back and apologized to her. Do you think that was a noble thing?
I think he was. I think he needed to do that. But I also think that we need to understand that he's not a politician. He's kind of watching from the outside looking in. He's actually, the sports world actually will create a cocoon around you sometimes, and maybe you don't understand what's going on politically as much as you probably should. I think they should. I think him apologizing was a great thing. I'm glad he did it. Jasmine's not a bad person. She's a big person. I think she'll accept it because I think she's more worried about her constituents and figuring out what our next moves are, or figuring out what the next moves are for her constituency. So I don't think that she's going to make a big deal out of it. But I think everybody needs to call it a day and move on. I don't think that, and just being completely transparent, that the African-American male and female need to be going at it like this openly. I think they'll be able to sit down and have a conversation privately before it gets even outside.
Okay, before we move too far, Jalen, and speaking about Billups, says back in the early 2000s, everyone here in Detroit knew Chauncey, David Jones, Ben Wallace stayed in the MGM here and were big-time gamblers, so this is no surprise to people here.
Well, you know what? I can definitely understand that. I know Detroit has its casinos. I know some people from Detroit. I'm disappointed. And I know when you're from Detroit and Chicago, man, you can really get into the casino life. And I was never into that. But with that being said, I could see that because I know Detroit. I mean, they got a history of Detroit and Chicago got to have a history of people gambling their lives away.
Now, you mentioned you knew Jasmine Crockett personally. I want to ask you one question about her. What do you think helped her get to such a high level in politics?
She worked her ass off. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. She hit the streets. And when I say she hit the streets, I live in a neighborhood called the Dixon Circle neighborhood. It's an historic community here in Southern Dallas. Actually, next Saturday, we're having a ceremony to commemorate us getting street toppers on top of our street signs. I worked to make that happen, but she came to the hood. A lot of the politicians in Texas and Dallas in particular, I mean, they go to the nice neighborhoods, but they wouldn't come. They wouldn't come to the block. They wouldn't come on the corner. I mean, Jasmine was coming to boxing gyms, community centers, the street corners where the brothers were standing, feeding the homeless. Her and her team, they really got in it and they hit the ground every single day. And I remember when she was like, "Hey, Calvin, do you know somebody in that community?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Why you ask me that?" So I want to go over there. I said, "You sure about that?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." So she got elected because she's personable and she will come to communities and places that other people won't. And a lot of politicians probably should start doing that. Like, some folks don't want to really come to the underserved communities, shake hands, feed them, talk to them about the concerns. She really, day to day, night after night, got down and met with the people where they were at. And she did a great job of doing that. That's how she was able to get elected. Because to be honest with you, she wasn't inside the Democratic establishment here in Texas. She was an outsider, but she worked her ass off and she shook hands. She talked to the people, and day to day, she got out there and met her constituents, and that's how she got elected.
You know, speaking of Stephen A. Smith, getting back to that, Kash Patel took a few shots at him, but Stephen A. took the high road. He said he did not want any trouble with Kash Patel, the leader of the FBI. Do you think that was a smart move?
Yes, a smart move, number one, because Stephen A. smart. He's smart, he's methodical, and he's measured. He's like, I'm not going to start arguing with Kash Patel. And then the next thing you know, I'm arguing with Donald Trump and everybody else. He's not going to do that. Stephen A. smarter than that. Stephen A. is smarter than that. And I think also Kash Patel actually probably realizes, wait a minute, Stephen A. doesn't actually go bad on Trump all the time. I probably need to leave him alone. And so I think Stephen A. is smarter than that. He don't want any problems with the FBI. I think that's a smart move because I always tell people, even if some people say, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so I'm not afraid of them coming after me, but people don't understand, to fight the FBI, you can spend a lot of money. And people don't want to spend a lot of money and time doing that. And then let's be honest, in today's political climate, people are becoming concerned that Mr. Trump, Kash Patel, and the Republican Party and this administration, that they are starting to use their power in the Justice Department to retaliate against their enemies. So Stephen A. knows that. He ain't trying to get into that.
Yes, indeed. So let's switch up a little bit. Let's talk about Donald Trump and the Epstein Files. This week, we thought we would see the files come flying in, but still no files. What's going on?
I don't think we're going to see those files. And when you look at it, and I was watching this thing at Epstein not too long ago, and they were just talking about his connections. And for years, people were trying to wonder, hey, how did he get his money? How did he get this power and influence? And I just think that he's donated to so many causes. He's developed so many relationships, political, Hollywood, sports world, and the finance world, to the point to where, man, people don't want those tapes to come out, because I would imagine that they probably have been to parties, probably been to his island, and they probably been in compromising situations before. What I was hearing is that when he would have these mansion parties, that those places would be rigged with cameras. And I heard that he was using some of these things to be able to blackmail and sometimes control people. And that would not surprise me if that's what he was doing.
When they itemized Epstein's wire transfers over $1 billion, there's more than meets the eye here.
And see, that's what I'm telling you. There's a lot of money involved. There's probably a lot of paying people off involved. And there are probably going to be a lot of names of people who don't want their stuff to get out. Him and Mr. Trump met. I mean, he lived close to Mr. Trump in Florida. He bought a place down in Florida. Matter of fact, one of the Florida cases down there in Palm Beach, that's one of the places he got caught up with, in one of the cases that he actually got prosecuted on, that he got a slap on the hand for. So I think that his connections to Republicans, Democrats, independent people in the finance world and entertainment world run too deep. Nobody wants that stuff to come out outside of us.
Yes, indeed. Have you ever seen the show, The Andy Griffith Show?
I love that show.
Yeah. Remember Otis?
Oh, I remember Otis.
Remember he would check himself into jail and check himself out. That's the kind of sweetheart deal Epstein had. Why?
That's what he had. Yeah. That's what he had down in Palm Beach. I remember Otis the drunk. Yeah, definitely. He would check himself in and check himself out. They just give him a key. And that's just really what it is. I mean, that's kind of what he did. He had an Otis deal from the Andy Griffith Show. And as me and Mel say this, we're not exaggerating. He literally had an Otis deal.
Yeah. On the same day that Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced, right? Looking at 20 years, there was a fella down, I believe in Texas. He was a preacher, and he was on the hook for some PDF activity, we'll call it. He was facing 20 years too. He walked away with 6 months. Why do we see such a difference in the legal system?
Man, because he was connected to as well. I mean, I think it was Gateway Church that I think that he's affiliated with, or down here south in that area. And he is connected to a lot of politicians, a lot of people in the entertainment world, a lot of people in Texas power world. And when you're connected to those people, that's how you get those sweetheart deals.
That's amazing. So as far as Congress coming back and all of these things taking place in regards to Epstein Files, will something happen this week, you think?
No. They're going to hide him. And I'm telling you right now, and people can try to say I'm anti-Trump, whatever, I don't care, but I'm just telling you, he is wielding his power. He is taking his power to limits that we have not seen in this country. He is going to use whatever power he has to go after his enemies. And when he sees stuff like the Epstein tapes that have the possibility of coming out, he is not going to let them out. And I want to say this because we got a question. Why didn't Biden administration release the files? What did I just say to y'all? Everybody's in these tapes. I don't look at Republicans as my enemies and Democrats as my friends. Sometimes I will tell you this. They all are in these tapes. Republicans, Democrats, independents, women, men, people that got money, people that don't have money, actors, actresses, powerful people in media, all of them are in these tapes or have connections to folks that are in these tapes. I'm no fool. I'm just telling you the truth. I hope they don't come after me for saying this. But I'm just saying. I'm just telling you the truth. It is what it is. So anybody watching this show today, let's quit acting like it's a Republican, a Democrat thing, or Biden and Trump. Man, they all in this tapes. Look, Clinton, listen, Clinton was probably in some of this stuff too. Let's be no Bill. Uncle Bill was in there too. Mr. Trump's in there too. And some of these other folks that you may like politically or don't like politically, they're in those too. Let's keep it real. If we're going to be honest.
Doesn't it say something, though, that no female has come forward to say, I was at this age and the president did this to me?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, but at the end of the day, listen, you got money. Nobody's coming to say anything about anybody. And so, like I said, I just don't know. I mean, I've seen these folks use their power, whether it be Mr. Trump, whether it be Mr. Clinton, whether it be the guy that used to do the shows for Oprah, whatever, is Harvey Weinstein. These guys use their power, man. They can shut you up. Enough money will make you forget some stuff that happened to you.
Wow. So what about Maxwell? Do you think in time she will actually be pardoned? They're just tucking her away at this special prison camp for now?
I think she may get some time cut off. I think they will pardon her. I think they kind of have to. I think she knows too much.
Okay. John says, not retaliation, just going after the corruption that was pitted against him, his lawyers, his administration, his sons, and even his chauffeur. The corruption has to be accounted for.
It's damn well in retaliation. And I'm going to be honest with you. I like to get back at people who says that if I was in that position and they came after me for some years, that I might not feel like I need to go back at them. See, this is the deal, right? Let's quit trying to be like people have angels on their back. If I'm Donald Trump and I feel like these things came up against me and I was indicted for stuff that I shouldn't have been indicted for, when the rabbit has the gun and I'm the rabbit and I got the gun now, I might use the power that I have now to go after them. Now, I'm not saying that I would do it, but what I'm trying to tell you is, as a human being, when somebody comes after you, tries to lock you up, puts you in trial, and talks bad about you, and now you have the power to get back at them. In today's world, most people are going to take that opportunity. So let's quit acting like somebody is going to be noble. It has to be accounted for. Nah, they went after him. He felt like it was petty and trivial, and so he's going to go after them. We have to quit making excuses for people that we like. Whether you like Mr. Trump or not, you got to tell the truth. And then sometimes you have to ask yourself, what would you do? If somebody put you on trial, tried to send you to prison, tried to have you locked up, and you never been locked up your entire life, if you had the power to get back at them, would you use it? A lot of people would. Is that the right thing to do? Probably not. But we're not talking about the right thing to do. We're talking about, hey, I probably would go and take that opportunity to get back to the person who tried to throw me in jail. So y'all, as you're watching this show, let's be honest about this. Let's not because you like one guy or you like the Democrats or Republicans. Let's not try to give either side angel wings, because everybody has their problems.
Guys, thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. My name is Mel. Every day we have these legal topics at noon, and on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we come together for the weekly legal review with criminal defense attorney Calvin Johnson. If you guys could hit the like button, share, and subscribe, we would greatly appreciate it. Calvin, could you take a moment to tell everyone about yourself?
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can be reached by email at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. The whole word, attorney spelled out, attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. I also can be reached at theywon'tletmeout.com, and I can also be reached at, which is the website, and I can also be reached at 214-565-5600.
Okay. Lynn says Epstein has been burned in bags in secret room in FBI.
Hey, you know what? The Epstein files could be burned, because I'm telling you, I know from what for some of the parties and some of the flight lists that people talk about, that Clinton's been there, Trump's been there around him. A lot, some very famous actors have been around him. A lot of very famous people with money have been around them. It's the truth.
Right. So, what do you think is actually could happen if, let's say, they do find Donald Trump has did something very serious? Do you think they're really going to try to move him out of office with all the followers that he has?
No.
Not even. No chance, right?
Absolutely not. That side over there, and I'll tell you, America's at war. You're people who you politically disagree with, you're trying to annihilate them. The Republicans are going hard on the Democrats. Democrats are going hard on them. And the people in the Republican Party, no matter what he does, they're going to back him no matter what. They see their fight as a fight for their country, and they see him as their hero for maintaining America or bringing America back to their idea of America. So there's nothing he can do to lose support from that group.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the government shutdown. You had mentioned it earlier. A lot of people in the local community here in New York are quite concerned. Food stamps, people are being affected in so many ways. Do you think this is going to go on for some extended period of time?
Yes, because we're dysfunctional, and people that are not hurting are the ones making the decisions. And that's where it's a problem, right? When I say people that are not hurting are the ones making the decisions. If I'm in Congress, I'm still eating my food. I still have enough money to pay my bill and my rent. I still have enough money to take care of my children and my family. I'm not affected as much as my constituents, or I'm not affected as much as a worker who's lost their job, or a mother who's waiting for the SNAP benefits, or a government contractor who's now going to go out of business, or a farmer who's not going to get his stipend. I'm not affected as much. So this is going to go on for a while, because to them, this is like a checker game. For most people, it's real life. And right now, the Democrats and the Republicans are both so dysfunctional that it's just not going to go well.
How could they say it's a political battle when actually Republicans are suffering just as much as Democrats when it comes to the shutdown?
It just is. And I just think it's a battle of ideologies. And I know that some of the Republicans are suffering. I've heard a lot about people in the Republican Party at some of their town halls are really starting to complain because they thought they were bringing Mr. Trump in was going to do certain things. I was watching something about him purchasing a lot of Argentinian beef, and that the beef producers of America were not happy with him for doing that. I heard some other things that are coming from some of these Republican town halls, and I just think that as a whole, I think the Democrat and the Republican parties, I think they're not going to be able to come to a happy median. They're going to fight to the death because of the way things are going in this country.
I believe so. Mike says, just because you flew on the plane doesn't make you guilty of anything.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make you guilty of anything. But like I try to tell people, when you keep company when you keep companies, and let's make no mistakes about it, when you keep company with pedophiles, then people might start to be concerned about what you're doing around them. Not saying that you did anything, but when you keep company with a known pedophile, that's a problem. That's a problem that should concern all of us. And I'm not saying anybody guilty of doing anything, but it would raise my eyebrows.
Any thoughts on Tucker Carlson basically insinuating that Epstein was a part of the Mossad?
I don't know. I just wonder about that. I don't know about that. I just think that he was very. I think he was very resourceful. I think he became powerful because of the people that he knew. But with that being said, you have to account for how did he get his money and how was he able to get access to all of these powerful people. We ain't just talking about Republicans. We're talking about Democrats, Republicans, independents, financiers, actors, actresses. He was really connected to a lot of people. So he could be involved in homicide, but I just don't know about that.
Do you think a man that's out here abusing 1,000+ people potentially has the time to do all this without having a team, and a strong team at that?
I think if he's smart, he can get away with it for a while. And what they said Epstein was doing, man, he was really, really slick about doing it. And he was very careful about doing it. And he would really get vulnerable people to try to pull this off. I mean, I heard he was getting poor girls from poor neighborhoods who didn't have much opportunities, giving them $300 to $500, and then if you presented yourself well and you didn't complain too much about certain things, he may even take you on a trip, sponsor you going to a school, sponsor you doing this and that, and giving you opportunities you never had before. So that's kind of what he was doing, and it doesn't surprise me that you have a lot of these guys that do the grooming, and then they set up networks. When I say set up networks, Mrs. Maxwell was a very big part of Mr. Epstein doing what he was doing. Matter of fact, Miss Maxwell would find girls, get them to come over there, and if they were okay with giving Mr. Epstein massages, they would get paid to go recruit other girls. So now, not only did you get recruited to do this, you do it. And if you recruit more girls, you can get paid more money and you don't have to do anything. I mean, they were very, very smart about doing what they were doing.
Right. So were you shocked when you heard that Donald Trump's, which used to be his lead attorney for his New York City case, went to meet with Maxwell, sort of like a private deal?
It doesn't surprise me because, like I said before, there are probably a lot of things in those in those Epstein files that could incriminate a lot of people.
Right. Dwayne Parrott said, do you feel like he did anything criminal? The charges were frivolous.
What do you mean in terms of Mr. Trump? Are we talking about Mr. Trump, Mr. Parrott? I'm not for sure. When it comes to, if you are talking about Mr. Trump, I just think that financially, he gamed the system to the best of his ability to be able to do what he was doing. I think he may have not told the truth about what properties were worth to be able to get more favorable terms and create an opportunity to get the best situation. But I don't know if that's really criminal. I just think that he gamed the system. I'm not for sure that it was something that probably should have been prosecuted, but at the same time, he probably was financially gaming the system to do what he needed to do. But the bigger concern I had was some of the pushing, some of the MAGA folks out to go after election judges, like some of the stuff that was happening in Georgia. I just thought that pushing people to go out to election judges' houses and that kind of thing. I mean, calling the governor, trying to get him to change. I think that's criminal behavior to me. You shouldn't be a candidate trying to get a governor to change votes, and you shouldn't be a candidate trying to have people go to people's houses and claim election fraud when these people didn't do anything, and they could be scared to death to have some of your supporters show up at their doors. I don't think that should happen. I think that's criminal.
Jeff Snyder says the law dictates what must get done. No one's above the law.
Hey, that's true. That's true. But we all know as well that you can be selective in enforcing the law. And then the president has pardoning power. And so, that's just what it is. Now, Dwayne Parrott said, do you feel like Trump did anything criminal, or do you think the charges brought against him were frivolous? And I think calling the governor and trying to get him to change votes, I think the way he did that can be considered placing undue influence on somebody to try to change an election, sending people to attempt to scare and threaten these older black women. They were alleged election judges in Georgia. I did not like that. So when I said I didn't like that, I think that could be criminal possibly. But I think a lot of what he did was game the system, which means he used what he knew about the system to take advantage of stuff as much as possible. I just don't know if you can prosecute him for that. But some of the stuff in Georgia, pressuring the governor to change votes, also sending people out to these ladies' houses, I didn't think that was proper. You shouldn't be doing that. People can get killed that way. If that had been my relatives, my mother or my sister or my grandmother, somebody would have gotten seriously hurt showing up at her door when they were not supposed to.
Great point. Denny says people that ain't got no jobs are affected by EBT. Otherwise, if you got a job, you're doing okay for yourself.
I can see some of that, but at the same time, people are getting laid off left and right. People are losing jobs, 16,000 jobs here. A lot of people are laying off. AI is taking over a lot of jobs. So it's not just the people on EBT. There's a lot of people out there losing their jobs. I have a friend of mine that, as a procurement manager, he's been looking for jobs for 10 or 11 months, and he keeps getting these interviews but not getting a job. And then I know a lot of people recently that got laid off. So I wouldn't just say that. Just because you're not working doesn't mean you're just sitting at home not wanting to work. You could be part of the laid off group. And there are a lot of companies laying off a lot of people, and y'all know it.
Tony Anthony says Congress should not be receiving a paycheck just like the rest of the government. No senator, no judge, nobody should receive a paycheck.
I believe that. I agree. 100%.
Okay. Denny B says, and also people that are hurting are also happy that decisions are being made too, because there are some of us out here hurting that don't get any government help.
Hey, I get it. I just don't wish anybody to starve or not being able to pay their rent. And a lot of us don't get any government help. Hell, I work for everything that I get. My wife works for everything she gets. I definitely understand that people should have to try to work. I don't believe people should just sit around for year after year and get free money. I agree with that.
Okay. On a sad note, all the things 100 says, I go to MAGA in my family, and when you corner them with logic, they just say they don't care. They genuinely do not care about facts.
This is what I'll tell you. I think that at times some of the MAGA people do have some valid concerns, but I have also experienced that as well. They're so MAGA that they can't see anything wrong with their MAGA person. Like, for example, I talk to some people and you can't say anything wrong about Trump. That he's ever done anything wrong. I can definitely understand when you say that, talking to some of the MAGA folks, that no matter what somebody else does, they're going to stay true red hat, white lettered up.
Okay. Christine says the people are hurting. They continue to get paid.
Yeah, and that's sad. Like I said, if I ain't get paid, why? If I'm not getting paid, why should you get paid? And you're supposed to be making sure that I get paid. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah. Do you think the fact that it's close to Thanksgiving and Christmas is going to really embed people at such a level that when midterms come out, you're going to see people turning on the Republican Party?
I think that they need to be concerned about people turning on them some. I just don't have the confidence in the Democrats that they're going to actually capitalize on it. And so I think that if the Democrats were smart and they got their messaging together and started doing what they needed to do. But I seriously doubt that they're going to do that. But I do think people will start getting concerned that are MAGA, that are Republicans, and saying, hey, this is not what we voted for. I mean, a lot of people are, tourism is down. If you have a tourism business, that's down. Some of the other stuff that you're involved in business-wise, that down. People don't like that.
I spoke to a local lady who works on the Republican Party. She said that immediately when Donald Trump won, they already started working on the next Republican big item, the next new president, whether they think it's going to be Donald Trump again or someone else. It feels like the Democrats are stuck in the sand.
They
What
are.
do you think?
They're stuck in the sand. The Republicans are very measured. They're on their message. They know what they want to get done. They get out and accomplish it, and they don't let their feelings get in the way of it. They have a plan, and they stick to it. Unlike us, well, the Democratic side, sometimes we get a little emotional, and we start getting in our feelings a little bit too much. And I'm just saying, I'm being honest. When I look at what MAGA is doing, and when I'm looking at what Mr. Trump and his administration are doing, they are executing their plan. Do I like a lot of what they're doing? No, I do not. But I do understand that they are executing their plan to a T.
One of my clients that worked for the FBI told me that the red states they were really concerned about because they have most of the ammunition. So I say that before I read the following comment from Dee Dee. They say MAGA people in red states are the main recipients of SNAP benefits, food stamps, serves them right for voting against the economic status.
And they are. They are. They people in the red states and MAGA and rural white America, they get more food stamps than inner cities, but they won't. That's not the narrative that they push, and it's not a color thing. It's just that rural America, a lot of them benefit off of SNAP benefits. And Dwayne Parris said the $40 billion bailout to Argentina. I've heard of that, and I heard that they're actually going to buy between $12 and $20 billion, $20 billion of Argentinian beef. And I heard that the beef producers of America who supported Trump are very upset about that.
Okay, Tony says, no, the Democrats are not going to sell out. They're going to hold their ground, which they better because the Americans deserve their insurance.
I want y'all to understand, I'm not saying the Democrats are going to sell out. They understand from what they see the threat of Mr. Trump being in office and continue to be in office. I don't think that they're going to get their messaging properly to the point to where they can get the votes that they need to do. And I say messaging. They're so far left that they're not talking to independents. They're not talking to the married family with 2 kids trying to pay their bills. They're not talking to rural America enough, middle America enough, the middle class enough. They need to focus their messaging on how they are going to help the working class man, the factory worker, the guy and girl who just got their college degrees, the farmers, the small business owners. They need to focus their message on those folks. And to me, they don't do that. They focus far left. They will go abortion, LGBTQ, climate, and nothing wrong with those things, but they will prioritize those things over the average working American who's trying to pay their bills and trying to get to where they need to be. And I think that that's a misstep by them, and they better do a better job of that. And they better get on message, because I think that those voters that voted MAGA this time are looking at MAGA right now and saying, hey, you all starting to hurt us. I need to look somewhere to where somebody's going to take care of me. Somebody's going to help me. And I think the Democratic Party needs to tailor their message to those voters. But I don't know if they're going to do that right now. I don't know if they're going to do that in an organized fashion. I hope they do, but I don't have confidence that they will.
I think Hillary Clinton gave the best breakdown. She said what Donald Trump has been able to do is master social media and really figure out what his constituents want.
Yes.
But the Democrats are just stuck in the sand.
They are. And I've had this conversation, like I said, me and somebody that I work with, I won't mention their name. I try to have this conversation with them, but I feel like sometimes if they're watching so much MSNBC and CNN, and they're listening to all of these shows and these points of views, to where sometimes I think they can lose the bigger picture, which is, hey, listen, I definitely understand that maybe you don't rock with Trump for whatever reason you don't rock with Trump for. But to win an election, you're going to have to get, if you're the Democrats, you got to get the majority of the black women vote. You cannot continue to leak black men at the rate that you're leaking them. which means you used to get 90%. Now this last time you got more 80%. And the way to keep them is not talking to them, talking down to them, telling them that they need to vote for you or they better vote for you because this and that's going to happen. No, you need to ask these black men what their concerns are, since they're your second most loyal voting bloc, and you need to make sure you get those things addressed. The third thing you need to do is start focusing on the working man, the independent voter who's leaning left or leaning right. Understand what they want. Understand what middle America needs. Understanding that, hey, in these red states, maybe you need to start appealing to some of these folks and say, hey, look, he took your stamps. I'm going to give you your stamps back. I'm going to try to help you. I'm going to get you some training. I'm going to make sure you get paid on time. The Democratic Party has to come back to the middle. They're so far left. And I'm not saying you can't look at things on the far left, but they need to have messaging and understand that their constituency, there needs to be regular people, regular union workers, regular factory workers, African-American men and women who vote at high numbers, and the working class man or the working class family, the wife with a husband and 2 kids, or a single mother with 2 or 3 kids trying to figure out a way. You need to speak to those people and get those people to vote for you. My concern is they're not going to do that. They're going to continue to go climate, trans stuff. They're going to continue to go more abortion stuff. That's where they're going to go. And I just don't think that gets you the votes that you need. Not saying that you can't be for those things, but you need to get more votes. More votes are in the middle. You need to pull some of the middle vote back to yourself, and you need to come back towards the middle.
Okay, so let's take a moment to take a little break away from this and get to some law while we have you here as a criminal defense attorney. I'm going to use Jennifer's message. She says, then why didn't the Dems release it? So she's basically saying, hey, if Trump did something wrong, the Democrats would have released the files, right? So when you went to law school, I understand they have a whole segment on logic, right? She's trying to appeal with logic. Could you give us some insight on logic when it comes to law and becoming a lawyer?
What I'm trying to tell you is that if the Democrats have something on Trump, on the Epstein files, and they release them, then that may lead to not just a few of them being released. What if you release all of them? And when I say release all of them, I think Epstein, because you have to realize, I always watch this show. I'm gonna give you an example. I used to watch this show called The Wire. And they said, when you follow the drugs, nobody cares. But when you start following the money, when you start following the money, man, you start turning over rocks and people start coming from under them rocks that you never thought would be under a rock in your life. Which means if I see the Trumps in there, I'm going to put that out there. Guess what's going to happen? Later on, when you go back and look the rest of them Epstein files and the Republican president is in there, they're going like, wait a minute. I know you put the Trump stuff out, but hey, didn't Clinton go over there? Hey, didn't this Democratic House rep go over there? Hey, didn't this liberal influencer go over there on that plane with them? I would imagine the reason why that these files have not been released is because it's going to hurt everybody, no matter what party you're in. And that's just the truth. It's going to hurt a lot of rich folks, okay? Let me help y'all out. Like I said before, I used to watch a show called The Wire, and it was kind of focused around drugs. But when you follow the drugs, nobody cares. But when you start following the money, all kind of stuff starts happening. So when you start talking about letting these Epstein files go, you're starting to follow the money, and that's going to be a problem.
Okay. Bo Sweeney says Trump is using those files all across the world to get rid of the deep state.
Get rid of what? What is it? What does he mean? Like, I don't understand. Listen, everybody. Let me help you all out. That stuff's not coming out. Okay? It's gonna hurt Democrats and Republicans, and we're not gonna see them. That's just that. So all of this, Trump's using them for this, Biden's using them for that. I think anybody who believes that is just being foolish. Don't let them trick you. I mean, all of them, the Republicans and the Democrats, have reasons for not wanting these things released, because it's a lot of money. And either you have a lot of money and you're in these files, or you took money from somebody that's in these files.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the illegals. That's coming up a lot in the comment sections today. Do you think it's fair what Donald Trump is doing now and the way they're going about removing the illegals?
This is a concern I have. When it comes to removing illegals, if you're not supposed to be in this country and they have to move you out here, I definitely understand that. My concern is how some of my black and brown brothers are being treated. I've seen some stuff that happened in Chicago. Them throwing kids out, pulling kids out of the house because there's some illegals next door and they want to clear the building, and all that craziness is happening. And I've seen situations where some of the ICE agents have been really rough-handed and pulling people and disrespecting people. Those are the kind of concerns I have when you do the ICE operations. Train your people better. If there are illegals in this country, they're not supposed to be here. I understand you got to do your job. I mean, we got to have laws. You got to have citizenship. But all that putting your hand on people, especially citizens, and mistreating and disrespecting citizens, that's not going to fly. And I'm glad that we had a situation here in Dallas where they turned down $25 million to help Trump in the ICE operations because we have a new chief. He's trying to get his feet wet down here, and he's trying to learn the lay of the land. But the main concern was it was going to destroy a lot of relationships that this new chief was going to have with the community. In addition to that, some of the heavy-handed tactics that were being employed by some of ICE, we have some concerns about, because I don't care who they are. If I'm walking the street, you ain't putting your hands on me. I'm a citizen. You have no reason to put your hands on me, and you're not going to do that. I don't care who you work for. So that's just how I feel. I know a lot of folk that feel that way, and I'm glad that they're not here like that, because I don't want myself or people who feel the way I feel in that situation.
So I don't know if you heard about this week. They had the big breakdown with ICE in Canal Street, Chinatown, New York City.
Yeah.
Now, when I heard about it, I'm like, wow, they're in Chinatown, the Chinese, China, So I went down, I rushed down. Lo and behold, ICE was coming in to get rid of the Africans. That's the target. What's really going on, you think?
And see, that's the thing, too. I mean, they're getting rid of black, brown, yellow. And once again, they're messing with the Africans. And guess what? Somebody told me I could pass for Nigerian. I don't want those kind of problems out of these people. I don't want them touching me, questioning me, handling me rough. That's not going to go well for them or for me. And I'm just saying, and I don't want myself and people that look like me put in that position. I think they need to train these folks better. I think they need to have better targeted operations, because some of the stuff that they're doing, I have high concerns about.
Okay. So let me ask you a whole different question now. Do you think when it comes to Kash Patel and him covering a lot of these high-profile cases, do you think that they have some connection with Project 2025, or do you think this is all a conspiracy?
I think that they do. I think, like I said, the Republican Party itself, and listen, I don't want y'all to think I'm some anti-whatever. I'm just telling you, when they win elections and they have plans, they execute their plans. That's just being honest. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, sometimes we do this show. A lot of people do shows with political leanings, whether it be right or left. And what I try to do, even if I lean a particular way, I still want to not have my lean affect my logic. The MAGA party folks, the Republican Party, they've won their election. They have some goals that they have set out, and they're executing on their goals. And I just have to give them their kudos for doing so. Do I like some of the stuff? No, I do not. But I definitely understand that they got their goals, and they're doing what they're doing. And they have ideas of what they're going to do with this country, and they feel like that they were losing control of America, and they're going to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they get a system of government that's going to work for them. I mean, that's just human.
Okay. Bo Sweeney says Project 2025 is another hoax.
Or another hoax or whatever. Well, he can feel like that. Most people in MAGA world that that literally will think that everything that they do is right. That's kind of how they talk. That's what they say. I mean, I have to, we talk about logic, right? I went to law school. I went to law magnet high school, which started using my logic in high school. And to go to college, you got to take a test to get in. To go to law school, you do LSAT as logical thinking. To become a lawyer, you take a bar exam as logical thinking. Just using my logic, I mean, what it is a political party, the Republican Party. They have plans for doing certain things in this country, and they won the last election, and they're going to execute as much of that plan as they can for the next 3 or 4 years. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, right? So, and when I say nothing wrong with saying that, I don't have to like that they're going to execute certain things. I'm just telling you that they are. And there shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Okay. Dream Big says Traitor Trump seems to be far above the law.
I think he does act above the law a lot. But I think that some people may feel like he just doesn't understand certain things. Now, he damn well understands what he's doing. Mr. Trump is opportunistic. He uses his power. He uses his power and his influence to make more money. He uses his power and influence to control things and have things go in a direction that he wants them to go into. But what leader doesn't do that? But I think that he does it in a way to where he's willing to take more of the guardrails off of democracy and just do whatever it is he wants to do, regardless of whether he thinks it's going to help or hurt democracy or not. And that's the thing that people have to understand. Some people will say, oh, he's ignorant, he doesn't understand this and he doesn't understand that. Mr. Trump very well understands all of this, but he doesn't care. He has things that he wants to execute and he wants to get done, and that's what he's going to do. Do I like a lot of it? Do I like some of it? There's a lot of things I disagree with what he's doing. But I can tell you that he understands what he's doing, and he's going to do it. And he's going to do as much of it as he can to put him and his folks in the best position that they can be in to succeed at doing what they want to do.
Okay. Periwinkle says groceries and gas are too high.
They are. When you go buy a meal, when you go to the grocery store, you look at the meal and you go like, man, I remember when I would go get this meal and it was only $5 or $6. Now it's $12. Now it's $13. Now when you go to the grocery store, if you just spend about $300, man, $300 back in the day could get you a basket and a half full of stuff. Man, you'd be lucky to have half a basket of stuff right now on $300. So I definitely understand that,
Okay. Brian says, Edwards, you're the one ignorant. We voted for Trump and I have a pacifier for you. Okay.
Well, you know what? These are the kind of comments, right? And this is what I try to tell people. See, what happens is when we talk politically, right? We started using, hey, if somebody's a Republican or Democrat, I'm not going to call them names, right? I'm not going to call them ignorant or this and that. But see, that's what's starting to happen in America. That's what's being more acceptable now. And see, those are the things that you got to be careful about on both sides. I mean, you want to call somebody ignorant. That's just not the way you should be talking to your fellow countrymen. And that's the bigger concern that I have, Mel. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, the way that we communicate with each other is highly disrespectful and coming from both directions. And then actually, when I see some of the Trumpers that I've known, this is how they talk to you. And it's just, it's unfortunate. But I've seen that come from the Democrats too as well. But I've seen a lot of people in MAGA world speak to people that way.
A lot of people in the audience are saying that groceries and gas are actually lower. Do you think it depends on what you watch? If you watch CNN, you think it's high. You watch Fox, you think it's low.
Man, it's high. And it's higher. Since Trump has gotten in, it has not went down. It's went up. And maybe and Biden, was it high? It wasn't going down under him either, but it's not going down under Trump either. It's going high. It's high everywhere. I mean, we even talked about the state fair this year. The state fair had 400,000 less visitors this year, and they lost for the first time in 20 30 years, they lost $2 million. They never lost money until this past year. So this economy is bad.
Okay. Hillary says basically the Democrats lie throughout the entire race, and then when they get into office, they do nothing like Joe Biden, just selling wolf tickets.
I think that in this country right now, I think that a lot of people are becoming disengaged with politics as a whole, and this is why. When I say this is why, you have one person that says it's Joe Biden, you got one person that says Trump, and I'm of the opinion that all of these folks, whether it be Biden or Trump, both of these folks are doing whatever they want to do to try to sell you something to keep getting elected. And I think it's more, instead of liberal and conservatives or MAGA and liberals against each other, I think that it's rich versus poor, or it's rich versus middle class and poor. I think it's more money than it is political ideology, and I wish more of us would understand that.
Okay. We have a quite intriguing comment here from Dream Big. Says Trader Trump's son Barron took inside information from Trader Trump and shorted stocks, which allowed him to make tons of $40 million in profit illegally. What do you think about that?
I don't know if that's true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Trump has played his cards business-wise as much as he can to make as much money as possible. And he's a businessman. He doesn't look at government as a thing that you play fair. I mean, Trump is going to try to maintain his wealth, and that's just the truth.
Right. I will say, right, a lot of people in the inner city, especially Black people, are coming forward saying, listen, we had a lot of crime in these cities. Thank you, Mr. Trump. You sent in the National Guard or whoever you want to, and now I can sit out in my yard. I can actually walk and get my kids from the bus stop. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We need more Mr. Trump. You think that's bad publicity or just real facts?
I think it's a little bit of both, but the truth is, he's right about some of the crime in some of these cities. It was out of control. And what I try to tell people is, I remember back when I ran for city council here in Dallas, and they were talking that defund the police crap. I was like, what the hell is that? I said, you going to do what? Like, I understand. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I was like, do you know what's going to happen when we don't have enough police and you can't get them out here? Do you know what's going to happen? Some people don't understand certain things. They get these ideas and they think that they're catchy and they think that they're beautiful. But man, it's true. And a lot of the inner cities, we have crime problems. But with that being said, you got to be careful, because I think Mr. Trump also is getting back at some of those cities for not voting his way. And that's just the truth.
So, as a criminal defense attorney, you think it's smart, which I think a lot of Democrats really wanted, when a crime happens, they send over a social worker?
What did I just tell you? I wasn't with that. I'm not with that. When a crime happens, send me a cop. And if it's a violent crime, send me a cop with a weapon. I got a family. And, I always try to tell people, yeah, we have issues with police officers, but a regular man and woman with kids in a house, when you need the police, you need the police. I don't need a social worker. I wasn't with that. Do we need more social workers in the social worker space? Yes, we do. But when it comes to a crime that just got committed, don't send me a social worker. Send me somebody who is going to stop the crime from happening and who's going to help me. That's just me.
I was out in San Diego about 2 weeks ago now, and gas was close to $5 a gallon. Paul Warner says the gas is $2.85 in Indiana.
Gas is always high in California, Mel. I got family out there. You say you got it for about $5. That's actually a good price out there.
Really?
I'm serious. I have a cousin, man. He routinely would tell me it's $5.56 a gallon out there. And I think that's crazy to me. I mean, because in Texas, we don't pay that much. We're between 280. We're between 260 right now. And to get the mid-grade, you're about 310, 320 a gallon. That's cool.
Okay. All right. Shonda says, so quit using the color of someone's skin as an excuse for bad behavior. You want to fight for something, fight for these leaders in these states to let ICE working the criminal system.
One says, so quit using color as someone's skin as an excuse for bad behavior. You want to fight for something, fight for these leaders in these states to let ICE working the criminal system. What I try to tell people, look, I'm not fighting ICE to be able to do their jobs. They just need to make sure that when they engage with somebody, that they're going after the illegals that are here, not messing with regular citizens. I mean, you have to understand, a lot of these ICE agents are not trained for urban combat and urban engagement. You're sending people into apartment buildings with steps. Some of these places are not well lit. Some of these people, some of these ICE agents have never been in those kinds of environments. It's not a color thing. But at the same time, I don't want somebody bothering me just because my skin have to be dark and they think I'm Nigerian and they try to grab me and throw me on the ground. Nobody's doing that to me. I'm not taking that. So you got to be careful. You have to do your job in a way that's not going to affect the rights of others. And I think that's what we got to be careful about. No excuses are being made for any of that. If people are in this country, they're not supposed to be here. They need to be put up out of here.
Okay, Bo Sweeney wants to talk about Israel. Do not agree with Israel. What do you think about Netanyahu trying to run interference for the Hamas deal?
I think there are some concerns there. I mean, I try to tell people sometimes when you align yourself with another country, y'all may have 70, 60, 70% of shared interest, but you may also have that another 30 or 40% where you don't share interest. And as a country, Israel is going to do what's in the best for Israel. Now, Israel loves it when we come to their rescue, but still, they've got about 30 or 40% of things that most of America may not agree with, but they're going to continue to try to achieve those goals and take those positions and make sure those positions are solid for them. And we need to understand that. I mean, with that being said, I definitely understand that.
Why does it seem that Israel has a strong hold on America, one of the best countries in the world?
Because of the people of faith and the biblical position of the Israeli people.
Wow.
And somebody said Trump is just using sleight of hand like a musician pulling a fast one over the country. Oh, wow. Okay. What do I think about that? I think Trump's very resourceful. I think he might be pulling a fast one. I've seen in the past maybe where he pulled some fast ones with some of the loans and stuff he didn't pay back and some of the business deals that he's made. But with that being said, the only way you're going to find out is let Mr. Trump put the things in place that he wants to put in place. He won a recent election. He has a party that's going to let him put those things in place, and he puts his policies in place. And let's see if they work or not.
Okay. All right. Very good. Apple Tile says Trump doesn't use power. He abuses power. There's a huge difference.
I will say that at times I think he does abuse power. I think a lot of times he abuses power. And the reason why I think that he does it is because I think people have to understand there are two different worlds you work in, right? When it comes to business, the number one goal of a business is to make money, right? Right? Number one business.
Yeah.
When it comes to government, that's not the number one priority. The number one priority of a government is to provide a service and or sometimes provide a service and keep people safe. And I think that when you have those two worlds collide, there can be a problem. I think that the consequences of not making money, you go out of business, is not a big thing. The consequences of not surviving, not providing a service or keeping someone safe can be death. And I think that's where you got to understand. Mr. Trump has consistently worked in the business world to where it's all money and it's not service or life or death related. And I think that's the problem that I think you're going to have.
Okay, so we have a lot of people with different expressions. Feel free. I'm going to drop the link If you'd like to come up and state your claim, feel free to do so. We'd love to hear from you. You have the privilege to talk to a criminal defense attorney and ask some questions. So feel free to come up right now if you'd like to.
You see that comment, Mel? Nobody's above the law. I truly believe that, but I think that here recently, the checks and balances that we had in place, I think that they're routinely being overstepped under this current administration. And I think also under the previous administration under Biden, I think some of those things was starting to get overstepped as well. So it's not just Trump. It's somewhat Biden too, and before he got up out of there. But now definitely with Trump, I think he's overstepping the bounds when it comes to the law. I think he's using his position as a leader to get and do whatever he wants to do.
Okay, Curry says he doesn't have the best people. He doesn't have a clue what to do. Talking about Trump.
I've heard that too. I think that he probably hires more friends than people that are actually qualified to do the job. He prioritizes loyalty over knowledge of doing the job. And once again, in business, you probably want to prioritize loyalty. But in government, you need to prioritize knowledge of doing a job.
Okay. Anthony has brought up Letitia James, and she's not above the law. I saw an ad recently where she was trying to raise money, I guess, to fight her legal matters. Yes. What do you think about that?
I think if the government is down to pay for her legal fees, I think she has the right to raise money to try to fight that. I think she probably felt like she was going after Trump for a legitimate reason. But once again, and I'll tell y'all this, I call the pot will call the kettle black. When you know you have done something, or you've lied on an application, or you're sleeping with somebody you're subcontracting with, you know you did that. And if you're going to go after Donald Trump, you best believe he's going to find out that you're doing it. And you best believe they're going to use that against you. So at the same time, if you're prosecuting somebody, make sure your closet is clean before you go after somebody. That's just my opinion on that.
Okay. Tim said we don't live in a democracy. Sorry to tell everybody
that. That's something that I agree with. Let's have a real conversation. The conversation that I have with people is, I think part of this country has decided that democracy as we were living it the last 20 years no longer works for them. And they are no longer interested in that level of democracy or that makeup of democracy to continue. So I think that people somehow feel like we're consistently and we're always going to be wedded to this idea of democracy. But I think there's a certain portion of this country who has decided that the democracy we were living in does not work anymore for them. And they're looking to do other things outside of the way we've been having democracy for the last 25, 30 years. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Anthony says Comey is not above the law. Do you think this is a real case they have on Comey?
No, I do not. I think Trump is going after him because Mr. Comey was allegedly going after him. And I think that's what this is about. But like I said before, I try to tell people, we have to start calling a spade a spade. A lot of people, when you go after them and try to throw them in jail, when they get the opportunity to throw you in jail, they're going to take it. And I think that's exactly what this is happening. And once again, they said, let's comment. We read that comment. They said, Hunter is above the law. His daddy pardoned him just in case. That's exactly what I was referring to. Biden did some things toward the end of his administration that he probably shouldn't have done. When you pardon your own son, and then when the next party comes in and they start to do stuff, you can't look at them like they're so wrong. And that's one of the things that I definitely agree with.
Okay, so we have close to 500 people in the building. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We have a criminal defense attorney with us. Calvin, tell us a little bit about your loss.
I'm attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can be reached at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. I can be reached at my website, theywon'tletmeout.com, and also can be reached at 214-565-5600. And that's, I've been practicing law for the last 25 years. I've done state, local, and federal cases. I've also worked for an NBA player. I've also worked for a teachers union. I've done a lot of cases in the past.
Okay. Mario says everything costs more, and with the tariff, it's even worse.
That it is worse. And I agree with Mario. I don't think this tariff thing is something we should be doing. I actually do business with a company in Canada that I partnered with a guy with, and it's killing us. And in addition to that, that's just kind of what it is. I don't like the way that Trump is managing our economy currently, and I have some concerns about that. And this is not me hating Trump. It's just that he's filed for bankruptcy several times. He's ran companies in the ground in the past. He's left people high and dry and not paid them in the past. And so when you put somebody like that in charge of the economy, I always got to kind of pay attention to that. I'm not saying that he's going to do any worse than the Democrats were doing, but I have no illusions about him having a magic wand to fix everything.
Okay. I'm going to read you 3 comments back to back. There seems to be a thread going here. Democrat hate is spreading. Democrats tried to put Trump in prison and they tried to kill him. And then Bo says here, they riot in the streets. They tried to kill the president and they killed Charlie Kirk. This is what's going on in the comment section.
That Charlie Kirk thing is not a Democrat thing. That happened in Utah. It happened on one of the most conservative campuses in the United States. And it happened from somebody that seemed to be a part of their party from what I knew. So that's number one. But as far as trying to imprison Trump and kill Trump, I don't know what the guy was in terms of shooting at Trump. He definitely had some kind of attempt on him. But I can definitely understand people being upset that they tried to imprison Mr. Trump. But for some reason, those particular attorney generals or those prosecutors felt like they had a case strong enough to go after Mr. Trump, and they decided to do that. January 6th was a bad deal. He was president. I feel like he could have did more to stop that. Let's just be honest. Quit playing around. Quit acting like that was some patriotic thing. Man, that could have went really, really bad. Number one. Number two, when it comes to some of the other small stuff, the mortgage stuff, I don't know about that. I don't think that was that serious. I do think calling Governor Kemp, trying to get him to overturn an election that just happened, and then actually sending and directing some of your people to knock on those old ladies' doors that were election judges in Georgia. I don't think that is something that you should be doing as president. And that could have ended extremely well. Like I said, especially if they had been my relatives. If you show up at our doors, I'm going to leave you where you're standing. So that's just me. But with that being said, I just think that we need to be extremely careful when we start changing office. And now you're starting to charge the person that was in office before you. I think that's a very slippery slope. And I think we need to be extremely careful about that.
Okay. Calvin, can you tell them a little bit about the video we did this week about the 3 clowns in Virginia? Perhaps we could ask everyone, if you could, to go check out that video we produced this week after this live. I think you would find it quite intriguing. But Calvin, can you tell us about that?
What happened was you had these guys show up at these people's houses in like It clown masks, right? I mean, you ever saw the movie It, where they dressed up as clowns, and the clowns very dangerous, and they were trying to break in these people's houses, and they literally went around the back, climbed the fence, tried to open the screen, tried to force their way in the house. And people were asking about stand your ground. Can you stand your ground in this situation? What could you be allowed to do in terms of force, deadly force? How much could you use, and when you could use it? We were having a conversation. So if somebody shows up to your house at night trying to break in, you can use reasonable force to prevent that break-in. But if they get in your house and they have a weapon, or they're attempting to kill you, you have the right in most states to stand your ground and pull a bullet in them if you have to. But just because they knock on your door and try to open it once doesn't mean you just get to blow them away. You can warn them and tell them, hey, don't come in here. I got a gun. I'm going to shoot you if you touch if you touch that doorknob one more time and then they do it and you blow them away, I think you're allowed to be able to do that because you've already warned them and told them not to do it. A lot of stuff is going to be situational, but when somebody tries to break screens, they're trying to break into your house, you can use force against them. And a lot of the times, if you fear for your life and if it's at night, if it's a situation where you feel compromised, a lot of the times you'll be able to use deadly force, but you got to be careful with that. You don't have a duty to retreat because you're at your house, a place where you're supposed to be. So somebody tries to break in a house where it's your house and you're supposed to be there, you're allowed to be able to use the force to try to keep them out of your house. Doesn't give you the right to automatically blow them away. But after enough responses and enough of an attempt to try to get them from being where they're threatening you and you feel like your life's in danger, you are allowed in a lot of states to use that deadly force and to leave them where they're standing.
We talked about it last week with Don Lemon, how he took on heat from MAGA because he was encouraging, I guess, people to, stand their ground if they can't identify who's banging on or trying to come through the door. Well, this week, there's an article out of a young man, I believe, down south that was arrested because he was promoting for people to shoot ICE if they came to the door. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about that. And you can't do that. They are federal agents. And you can't just shoot ICE or be telling people to shoot ICE when they come to the door. But once again, this is what I try to tell people. When you're in urban areas, right? We're talking about urban areas or some of these areas where people have dressed up as federal agents and actually did home invasions before. Unfortunately, I represented some guys some years ago and their MO was to dress up like they were law enforcement and kick doors in. And I didn't know that until I started representing them. I was like, oh my God. I was representing a guy on one case and he ended up catching another case later that I did not represent him on, but I found out that that's what they were doing. And so when it comes to ICE, that's the concern I have. You go in an urban area, you got your face covered. You can go out and buy the ICE stuff and put it around your chest to make you look like an actual agent. If you feel threatened and people want to identify yourself, some folks are not going to be comfortable with that. I'll give an example. We had a guy here in Dallas. It's a huge case. These guys were knocking on doors, asking like, hey, I'm your air conditioner guy. We're here to check your vents and your air conditioning filter. We're doing a routine thing. And the guy started speaking through the speaker like, nah, man, I'm the only one here. You have to come back some other time. I'm sick. I'm in the bed. I can't come to the door. And so you have to come some other time. And those guys immediately started to try to keep the door in. What they did not know, they thought the guy was just on a ring and he was somewhere else. He was actually in the house. And the minute that the guy kicked the door 4 or 5 times, he put 3 or 4 bullets through the door, almost shot the guy, and the guys ran off. So when you're in urban areas, it's routine for some people, and I say routine, but there are instances where people will act like they're law enforcement, dress up as law enforcement and not be law enforcement. That's the kind of stuff I talk about when I said earlier, if you're going to do an ICE operation, y'all need to do a targeted operation. You don't need to be randomly showing up doing stuff. You need to make sure that you are doing it in a safe manner because regular citizens could be harmed by your operations if you don't do it properly.
Okay. All things are mentioned about the Trump coin. In fact, most of Donald Trump's family have their own crypto coin and what have you, because some were complaining about Hunter Biden. Last week, I covered it at lunch how Trump has brought in his family $5 billion at least on crypto. Any thoughts on that?
Those are the kind of things I get concerned about. When somebody gets in office and they start having more property than they had before they got in office. And it's not just Trump, it's some of the Democrats and some of the Republicans. I'm hearing stories of when a guy gets into office, he has maybe a couple of $100,000 worth of property. And then the next thing you know, you look up, they're in Congress for 10 years, 4 years, 5 years, 8 years. Now they're worth $1 million. Now they're worth $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $30 million. I get concerned about when people start to enrich themselves after people get elected, because I think that's a hustle on the people that vote for them, and I don't think that should continue to happen.
Okay. Apple Towel says, watch Trump will start to siphon off the oil and gas reserves this winter to try to hold prices down to the detriment of the security of the USA.
I think he will do that because there are a lot of countries that are deciding to either raise prices when they're selling America's oil, or they're going to try to restrict the amount of oil that they're going to sell us because they don't like some of the tariffs. They don't like some of the aid that's been taken away from their countries, and they don't like some of the positions that America has taken as a country. So I think we could have those problems seriously.
So for the people in the audience who perhaps are struggling already financially and they're going through this shutdown just like everybody else is, facing losing some of the services and whatnot, what would be your advice to them, if any?
I think what they need to do is try to make sure that they don't make any purchases that they should make. I think they need to be extremely careful. I think they need to make provisions to try to live off of the minimum amount of money if they can. I think that they need to be careful when it comes to that right now, because I don't know when this government shutdown is going to stop. I just don't. And I don't have any confidence that we're going to be able to fix it anytime soon. I'm just keeping it real. So however you're living your life, whatever money you're making, I think you need to be extremely careful about it. And I think you need to hold down as much as you can when it comes to your spending.
Okay, a lot of single mothers are on Section 8, and they're either going to be cut off or restricted to a temporary period in time. Any thoughts or concerns?
Well, I think that they need to start looking at how they're living their lives. Maybe they need to consider going back to school. Maybe they need to consider doing something different, because I'm telling you right now, with the way that everything is working now, the past is the past. You're not going to be able to go and get federal benefits and stay on those federal benefits forever anymore. Those days are over. Those days are over. So you have to start as a family, as a mom, start looking for other ways to maintain your lifestyle, to feed your family, and to make sure that y'all stay good, because the way that things have been run in the past, where you got your rent covered and you got all these benefits every month, that's not the way you should be looking at things. That's not the way it's going to continue to work either.
Okay, so we've been seeing the pendulum swinging so heavy with this administration, but it's quite possible with all the protests and people rising up and disgruntled people that we might see it swing back in the Democrat direction, right? Do you think all these changes are just going to be changed right back? What are your thoughts?
I think the Democrats are going to definitely try to go and make those changes back. And I think they will actually be focused when they try to make those changes, because in the past, I think they kind of, when they had power, I think they kind of slow rolled the things that they were doing. But I think that some of the things that Mr. Trump has done has scared the hell out of them. And so they're going to be as probably as focused as possible to try to swing things in the other direction.
Okay. Do you think that there's a chance, because I see a lot of Republicans are taking on Democrats, right? People are leaving the Democratic Party. The guy in Pennsylvania, I don't recall his name off the top of my head, but Fetterman, yeah, Fetterman. He moved over into that slot. Do you think we're going to get a lot of that?
I think you're going to get some of that. And the reason why I say that, the Democratic Party, there used to be an avenue for people in the middle, people that were, let's say, conservative Democrats. And some people may say that's a misnomer, but some people may say there's no such thing as a conservative Democrat. But I think there was a space in the past where you could be a conservative Democrat, sometimes occasionally work with Republicans, not go as far as the far left was. And I think that we're losing the ability to have those type of people in the parties. Like somebody like myself, the way even I talk, right? I've had some people, you sound like you pro-Trump. I'm like, nah, I'm just, when it comes to certain things, like I'm conservative. I'm conservative when it comes to values. I'm a man with a woman and a child, so I have conservative values. I go to church. I believe the Bible is the biblical word that men should live by. Doesn't mean that one of those MAGA far right churchgoers, but it means I'm a man of God, that I believe in that. And so what's happening is people tend to try to say, hey, I'm this and I'm that, because I don't go crazy and obsess myself with Trump. And yeah, I think that Trump does a lot of bad things, and I'm not fond of what he is doing. But I'm also, and I'm being honest, but I'm also concerned about the way that the Democratic Party has chosen its platform. I'm concerned about some of the stuff that they're supporting. And then I'm concerned about the lack of support for regular people, for regular families. And then I'm more concerned that they do not come talk to Black men enough about what they want, considering that the Black African-American men, as I'm a Black man, and there's nothing wrong with talking about your race and how you feel about a party, but as a Black man, you should come talk to me, because I'm your second most loyal voting bloc. And so you need to come ask us what we want. You need to make provisions to try to put things in place to help us get where we want to be, because that's what everybody else in politics does. And that's what we want people to do.
Okay, thank you. We'd like to ask at this time, if you guys get the like button, just take a second, share or subscribe to the channel.
I see a comment from Black Ground TV. You are pro-Trump. Okay. All right, man. Hey, I get it. You know, I always try to tell people what it comes down to is I don't get in my feelings about Trump. I'm not going to let myself get obsessed with him to the point where there are things that we can work on, that we need to do, that we need to take care of. I'm going to call everybody to the carpet. I'm going to call Trump to the carpet. I'm going to call the Democratic Party to the carpet. I'm going to call these shaking and faking pastors to the carpet. Hey, I'm an equal opportunity. I give it to everybody. Everybody can give it. I'm the can man, like Adrian Broner. Everybody can get it. So if you're not doing something you're supposed to do, Republican, Democrat, African, Mexican, whoever you are, if you're not doing something you're supposed to do, I'm going to say it and we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
It is what it is.
All right. Very good. So we're down to the last 10 minutes of the show. I wanted to ask you a couple questions in regards to something I observed. I went to court with an individual this week, and there was a guy there who was arrested with DWI because he had Xanax in his system. How does that actually go down? Because
you're impaired. You're driving. Why? People say driving while intoxicated. People always think about that being liquor, right, or alcohol. Well, if you have Xanax, it can impair the way you operate a car. Recently, I had a client. She had PCP in her system along with some alcohol, and she was like, "Well, my blood alcohol score wasn't that high, but listen, honey, you got PCP in your system too. So with that being in your system too as well, you're impaired. That's driving while intoxicated. You are not allowed to not just have alcohol in your system, but anything else in your system too as well that can impair you from driving."
Okay. And I just want to mention to Dwayne Parrott, thank you for subscribing to the channel as well. Nice to have you here. Now, in the particular court system, like when you're arrested, I guess with the police, do they pull your blood, or what do they do?
What they started to do, they used to have you blow in a machine, but they don't do that anymore. They get to what we call blood warrants. In the days of technology, they can get your phone and they can actually send a warrant to a judge, have a judge sign the warrant and get a blood warrant. And how they're able to get these blood warrants is when they pull you over, if they smell alcohol, if you're doing a field sobriety test and you're kind of swerving or not doing the things that they ask you to do properly because they're concerned that you might be under the influence. They share that information with a judge. They do it by e-sign, and they can do these e-sign warrants. The judge gets a warrant, and they take you to the hospital as quick as possible, and they take your blood now.
What if you feel like the police officer pulled you over for a frivolous reason or did not have probable cause?
You have to allow that to be fought off in court, because if they give that blood warrant, they're taking your blood. And to be honest with you, as crazy as this may sound, I tell people when they start asking you to do all these field sobriety tests and do all of this stuff, I've never seen anyone go home after one of those. They always go to jail. So why am I going to do all these tests for you to prove to you that I'm not intoxicated? I'm just going to tell you my name, my address. Hey, I'm not intoxicated. Don't ask me anything else. I want my lawyer. Don't bother with the rest of it because they're going to take you to jail anyway. So why answer any questions?
So you can't litigate on the side of the road? Anything?
No. Don't litigate on the side of the road. Leave that for the lawyers like myself.
Let's say I'm in the city and, ICE roll up. They say they think I'm an illegal immigrant. Do I have any basis to combat showing my ID, or do I just basically have to comply?
A lot of these states have passed ID laws where you have to identify yourself and you have to present an ID. So most of the time, you're going to have to present that ID.
Is there any truth to a lot of people feel like they're saying ICE is kidnapping people, especially people who claim they don't have an ID?
I've heard situations where they're taking people who don't have an ID and they've had to release them, folks. So I've heard that happening a couple of times.
Okay. Have you heard any more about what Donald Trump wants to do with the actual homeless people that they're trying to eradicate?
I haven't. That's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of reasons why people are homeless. Some of it is mental illness. Some of it is addiction. And then some of it is they're homeless by choice. They don't want to actually have the parameters to stay in a place upon which they have to pay rent and be responsible for things every month. There is a group of people that feel that way that exists in this country.
Okay. Thank you, Miriam's Praise, for the $5 super chat. That's awfully kind of you. We really do appreciate that. Now, one other question I have for you. What do you think about here in New York? We have the first Muslim Mamdani that potentially looks like he might win for the mayor.
Ooh,
He wants to legalize prostitution in New York.
Hey, man. I get concerned about people that want to do stuff like that because that would, in New York right now, that would be wild. And I think that he may have some ideas that he want to try, but some of that stuff I'm not a fan of. Like I said, I'm a little more conservative. I just don't think that that's going to work out well. And then you got stuff happening in New York around children. We got prostitution that could lead New York to be in a cesspool. I don't think that that's a smart thing to do. I just don't. Not for New York. Now, I'm not a New Yorker, but I would just imagine that y'all got other stuff you got to deal with. If y'all had to start dealing with legalizing prostitution, with all of these apps and all those 7 million people, and wow, man, that could go wild. I mean, and then I think when people start talking about that, they don't think about the collateral damage that could happen, which means you're going to have to deal with better health care. You could be dealing with more disease. You could be dealing with, there's a lot of stuff that could happen. A lot of stuff you got to regulate when you start doing that.
To boldly go, speaking about Mamdani, says he's going to try to collapse New York. When you go to these free shopping markets, you won't be able to get toilet paper like any communist state.
Well, I've heard some people say that he's more of a socialist, and hey, I'm interested to see how this is going to work. I just don't know if New York should be going in that particular direction right now. I definitely think that New York definitely wants to try to probably take a bolder look at the way that they govern themselves. But I don't know with some of the stuff that they are talking about, Mamdani doing it. I don't know if that's the direction that New York should go into, because they have so many people that are one of the largest metropolitan areas in the world. They're the largest metropolitan area in the United States. And I just don't know about that. I don't know if the Mamdani thing is going to work.
Okay. a lot of people are concerned for the Jews in New York, thinking they might feel the heat if Mamdani takes office.
I don't know about that. I don't think that they're going to be attacked because he's in office. But once again, I'm not a Jewish person, so I can definitely understand why they would be concerned. You know, believe it or not, my father, my biological father, Calvin, actually worked for a Jewish center, a Jewish church, a Jewish synagogue in California for 36 years. And so I have a great respect for those people and the ones that I have been around and that I've met. And I don't wish any harm on anybody, but I can definitely see that them being concerned about being harmed.
Okay. All right. Very good. It would be the first time. Do you think if prostitution becomes legal in New York, it might start spreading throughout the United States?
I think it could, but I don't think that would be a good thing. I think it will continue the moral decay that's happening in America. I think that's what a lot of people are concerned with, and I think that that's not the direction we want to go.
Well, what about the government grocery stores?
I don't know about that. And one of the things that I try to tell, the free markets are the way to go, is the way I look at things. But then, you know, some people want to have a mix of free market economy along with some of these government ran things. And I don't know how that's going to work. I just think that once again, you run into the problem of providing the food and making money. And so, well, like I told you before, you know, the goal of a business is to make money. The goal of government sometimes is to provide a service or provide safety. And I think when you're trying to run a business and do both at the same time, I think it can be a problem.
Okay. Brian Cantrell, along with Dwayne, likes the show. So we want to give him some appreciation for that.
Hey, y'all, have many people as possible come on and enjoy the show with us. I mean, we do this every Sunday night, 8 p.m. New York time, 7 p.m. Texas time, definitely.
Okay. Ellis Poole says, talk about the increase in health insurance premiums.
I believe you. My wife works for the city of Dallas, and we have our insurance through them because she works for them. And the insurance premiums have went up. I definitely understand that. So we're going to be talking about that. Maybe on another show, we'll have a conversation about that.
Okay. All right. Still people are saying Epstein Files now.
I want to see them too. Believe me, I want to see every last one of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. Pickle Willie says, we never had poverty and wealth disparity that we have now. The have and the have-nots.
I agree. The Elon Musk in the world and the Jeff Bezoses of the world, and these guys, they got too much money and there are too many people that don't have it. These guys have so much money that they can't do anything with it. And there is definitely an unequal distribution of the wealth in this country right now. And believe it or not, I don't think that this president is going to help it any, but that's just my thoughts.
Okay. Here at Watching the World, we try to bring about unity. Do you think it's a pipe dream?
I don't think unity is a pipe dream. I think eventually we have to understand that we at some point have to start acting like a country. I think one of the things that America needs to definitely understand is that we have to somewhat work with each other. We can't go to war consistently against each other every 4 years. That's not a recipe for success. That's a recipe for disaster. We still share some common goals. We still want to raise up families. We still want people to be safe. We still want to make a living. We definitely want to make sure that we start talking about those things more than things we disagree on.
Okay, so we're down to the last 2 minutes. Could you, in closing out, could you talk about how we're going to be covering Carmelo Anthony going to court every day, and also Luigi Mangione, who the terrorism charges have been dropped by the judge, but he's still facing the death penalty?
We're going to be covering both those cases. Luigi Mangione, we're going to be talking about how he was charged, what he was doing, and the effect that it's had on American, the psyche and American law, and what's going to happen based on these kinds of things in the future. The Carmelo Anthony cases are going to be great because it's down here in Texas. Collin County neighbors the county that I practice law out of. I actually practice law in Collin County quite frequently. And the judge in that particular case, I actually clerked for him doing a summer for a couple of weeks. And I know Mr. John Roach Jr. extremely very well. I know what kind of judge he is and how he is going to conduct that case. And because I'm boots on the ground in Texas, man, Mel is going to be coming down here. I'm going to show Mel around. I'm going to get Mel some barbecue, get him some soul food. We're going to fatten him up. But we're going to be streaming daily. We're probably, when that case is happening, we might jump on here every day, every other day to talk about stuff that's happening in the case. And so we want you to follow us on this journey. We already did one journey with P. Diddy. Now we're going to do the Carmelo Anthony journey. And we want you to continue to watch us, to go on this journey with us, and continue to support us. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.